Canterbury. Welcome to this NewsMakers Extra as we tie a ribbon on the sporting year for 2009, and it's a pleasure to introduce a very sporty panel. We've never had so many fit guests, actually. Joining us, two well-known broadcasters, Leslie Murdoch and Bryan Ashby, and from Motivations, the Sports Academy, Marg Foster. Thank you very much for joining us.
Pleasure.
Fit for what?
Oh, I don't know.
Fit
for conversation. I suppose I feel duty-bound to start with rugby, even though there have been so many competing codes this year, but it has been a testing year for the All Blacks. Do you think that mighty win in Marseille sealed the year with a sense of satisfaction?
I think a loss in Wales would have probably been the big talking point, but they did the job there. The England game, people talked it down. Oh, boring. I thought that was an outstanding test. Yes, the win in Marseille, it underlined it. There were a lot of difficulties mid-year and so on, but does it really matter? You know, people say you shouldn't live by World Cups. It's easy to say that. I'm grumpy about it. 1987 was a long time ago. Yeah. It's just been, to me, it's a tread water year, and that's okay. No one strongly has sort of come out of anywhere, maybe Zach Guildford and so on. I'd like to see a few more younger players emerging and doing the job. Kieran Reid, I guess you can put a ring around his name to that end. Just a non-year, really, in many ways.
How would you see it?
I loved it. From start, when it was a little bit dicey at the beginning, All Blacks, to the finish, and you could see them getting stronger. And Marg, you know, when you're getting a team together in those invisible threads, you can just see them getting stronger the longer they're together. And I think that's what we forget sometimes, that one-off performances, you can't judge any team on a one-off performance. So to have the momentum going right through to the end of the season and starting to put a bit of fear into the opposition, that's what I loved. And I think Marseille did that in the English game.
Have you enjoyed the year, rugby-wise?
Yeah, I think that the management, how they've changed within their unit as well. Like, you know, Steve's now going to coach the back line. That's often really quite good from a coach's perspective, to have a different view on what you can bring to the game. But their whole camaraderie and their togetherness as a group. My only thing is that there's so many young ones. I know, Bryan, you wanted more young ones. I think there's a lot of ones in there. Like, years ago, I used to know all of the names of the All Blacks. My gosh, I wouldn't even know an All Black if I was walking down the street. And no disrespect to them, but they kind of haven't at the moment got the same type of mana that perhaps, you know, if they're going to be there for a longer time, they will have. So I think they're on the right track, and it's really exciting, and that it's here in 2011, I think definitely on track, and who cares what happens in between, as long as they can nail a World Cup.
Just coming back to your point about the task changes within the coaching squad, that seems to have worked. Would we agree?
Depending what you're judging it on. I mean, we want to judge this team on the World Cup performance, so we can't do that yet. But every coach needs to refresh. I think they've done that. I think they've got definite strengths. What I like about it is that they've created quite a bit of competition within the team. You know, taking out Tialata for some tests, horses for courses, putting him back in, Owen Frank's hovering, Wyatt Crockett hovering in the front row. And to me, that they're starting to really develop that competition, and you need that in a team. And I like it. I think that's good.
Will Henry and Co see us through to the next World Cup?
Yeah, I think they will.
Yeah,
I think that. The changes, I thought they were fascinating. I mean, there was a lot of talk about the line-outs, and Steve Hansen was the whipping boy for everyone. You know, you think back a few years, people talked up the work that he did with Brad Thorne, the one-on-one, to develop him as a union player. Ali Williams, he was comical Ali, then he became clinical Ali, based on the work that Steve Hansen did with him. Steve Hansen going to the backs is fascinating, because at first-class level, he came into Canterbury in 1996 under Vance Stewart, coached the back line. That was the last time he's been a backs coach at first-class level, that one campaign. So for him to go and coach the All Black backs is a huge ask. He's done well.
I reckon that, you know, you in regards to him getting all that flack. I mean, look, the head coach is fully responsible. That's the head coach's role, and they've got all of their coaches underneath. I just think that the head coach should have been standing up a little bit more when he was getting that flack, and taking it more, because he's accountable for the whole package.
Across the creek, of course, it's been an interesting year for Robbie Deans. Do you think there is any chance that he could be given the flick before the World Cup?
Absolutely not.
No, I don't. And I think it's acknowledged by the state coaches and so on over there, there's actually nobody there pushing him. There's no one coming through. And so long as John O'Neill is there as well, I think that's the other big plus he's got going for him. The other thing is something that I've talked about for quite a few years, is that Australian rugby, you could see these problems coming because they were building from the top down. They were obsessed with getting big-name league players over and so on to play for the Wallabies, rather than building the game at grassroots level and bringing them up through, as we're so very good at doing in New Zealand. It was a matter of time before this happened, and these are the things that Dean's talked about when he went for the job, not just about doing the Wallabies, but everything coming up underneath and so on. So he's gone in with a plan, and there's a bit of pain associated with it now, but it's not a just add water and stir plan. I think that will see him survive.
Sure. You've got to play for the long game, don't you? Yeah. Of course, there has been a lot of bellyaching, Leslie, about the state of rugby, the woeful turnouts to venues like AMI this year. What needs to change? What will it take if we are to see sell-out crowds become the norm, not the exception, at AMI next year and beyond?
Well, I think they've got to change some of the rules. I think they've got to look at what's happening at scrum time. There's far too many resets. It's taking the momentum out of the game. They've got to look around rule changes around that. They've also got to look at what's happening on the defensive lines. Like rugby league, I know it's a different game, but you have to be 10 metres back from each other when you're playing the ball to begin with, and I think that the defensive lines have got too close, and they're going to have to introduce some kind of distance. I don't know what it will be, but at the moment it's almost take the ball up, bash the hell out of the person, and hopefully somewhere along the line you'll get an overlap. I think they've got to look at the rule changes so people want to go there and enjoy the game like they used to.
What else could change or needs to change?
Well, entertainment-wise as well, like, you know, looking at that complete package. Like, I've got a 5-year-old son, and he loves to go to wants to go to the rugby, but he kind of gets bored. Like, there's more things perhaps that could entice someone like him to have it, as well as obviously watching the game. The rules definitely need to be changed. And look, I'm bored watching.
I think there's another couple of points and I don't know how to solve this. Since the redevelopment of the stadium, it's lost a bit of its atmosphere. How you solve that, I don't know. We saw a bit of atmosphere late in the season when we were losing the Ranfurly Shield, dare I say it, and come finals time and so on, people really sort of got into it.
I think we won't know what it's got, what AMI has got, until we see the Dean stand full.
Right.
Because we can see already now it's very close. It's going to be close to the action. Once that is filled with people, it is going to be amazing.
That will be a big plus. And blocking out some of the weather and so on. Those things are all important. Another thing an argument that people have sort of forgotten about a wee bit, because they're all excited about the New Zealand Cup this year after rubbish for the last 2 or 3 years. There's still too much rugby. There is still too much of an ask on people's budgets. This is supposedly the year of the recession. People haven't got the money to get.
Is that going to change the workload?
Not in the foreseeable future, no.
But when you say people are sick of the rugby, you can't equate that back to the club and the first 15 competition. Because people love going to watch the first 15 rugby, and they love going to the club stuff. So therein lies an answer somewhere.
All right, we'll take a break in a moment. We'll switch codes and talk about the glorious All Whites. Do stay with us.